infrastructure, and that we're doing it in this beautiful historic space as well. You know, Duluth has had an interesting recent history. Many of you from across the state kind of think of Duluth in terms of where we were back in the early 80s. Kind of a city in decline, a city that, kind of a post-industrial city that has kind of gotten into that downward spiral. And then Duluth was at risk of that. We were one of the 10 most distressed cities in the nation. An unemployment rate at one time near 20%, the second highest in the nation, only behind Newark, New Jersey. And we saw over the past 30 years that a lot of cities that were in the same situation that Duluth was in the early 80s kind of follow that downward spiral. You know, the Youngstown, Ohio, the Gary, Indianas, the Flint, Michigans, and places like that. But it was at that moment in our history where leaders said, you know what, we love this area too much. And we're going to save this. We're going to reorient ourselves. You know, we may not be the industrial powerhouse of the 1950s, but we have assets that we can sell. And so that's when the tourism industry came about. That's when we really focus on higher education and our healthcare systems and providing regional services. And today, the unemployment rate in Duluth is about 6.5%, lower than both the state and national averages, and we have been so for most of this recession. So when we think about the challenges for cities like Duluth and the challenges in rural Minnesota and rural America, it does take that confidence to take a major leap forward and say, we're not going to be necessarily, we're proud of our past, but we're not going to be defined by our past. And we're going to take some risk, and we're going to invest in ourselves to define our future. And that's the importance of broadband infrastructure, IT infrastructure. Getting out into rural America is critical for the future of rural America in our country. And we have, I think the most successful element of the stimulus package has been the commitment to bring broadband into rural America. And we should send a very strong message to our leaders, especially in Washington, as well as at the state, that is an investment that pays a dividend for our country. And that's an investment that we need to continue to make, and not let it get bogged down in the politics and whether or not you're for or against the stimulus package as a concept to stimulate our economy, but rather to say this works and is an important investment to make in our country.